In this video, I'll show you guys how you can create long exposure, stroke, fine art photography pictures without using any filters whatsoever. Plus, I'll be giving away my trusty iFootage tripod. Hi guys, and welcome to this week's video. It's all about long exposure photography, and the question is, I suppose, can you take long exposure images without the use of any filters whatsoever? Well, a bit of a spoiler alert, yes you can. Right, let's talk you through this video very quickly, talk you through my setup. First of all, the burning question, how is it possible to take long exposure shots when you don't own or you don't have in your possession any filters? Well, it just requires one thing and one thing alone, and that is timing. You see, I've come to the seaside, and all I need to do is to ensure that I'm here during sunrise or sunset, but before sunrise and after sunset. So in other words, without stating the obvious, the reason why we introduce neutral density filters onto the front of our lenses is simply to reduce the light falling onto the sensor. Well, if you go out in conditions where there is less light than, say, during the day, then that will have exactly the same effect. So I find myself here at this great location as the tide's coming in, as the sun is setting. So all I'm going to do now is set my camera up. I will have to move because the tide's coming all the way up to where I am at the moment. There's about 30 minutes of high tide left, so I probably will need to go back a little bit further. But all I need to do, set up my composition, set up my focusing, get everything right, and then just simply wait until the light falls off. It really is as simple as that. Ooh, I am going to have to move. That's coming in quicker than I thought. That's a good start, isn't it? I just had to rush back. Okay, so let's try getting set up once again. Let's go through the equipment I'm going to need first of all. Well, I'm going to need a camera, I'm going to need a tripod, and pretty much that is it. Make sure it's a sturdy tripod. And as the tide is coming in, make sure that your tripod is not stood on wet sand. Try your best to ensure that that doesn't happen. And depending on how late we stay here, if I'm going to need to extend my shutter speed beyond 30 seconds, then I'm going to need a timer or intervalometer. The chances are some of you guys might well have a timer or intervalometer, both the same thing by the way, built into your camera. Okay, so let's get set up like I did before. I've got the groins from the left hand side, going 2/3 of the way into the frame, maybe just slightly over half, and on the third in the background there I've got a marker, and that looks to be fine. Coming up towards the end of this video, by the way, I will be giving away my iFootage tripod. I do love this tripod. This is going to be a very plain image, very fine arty if you wish, over a long exposure. That's really nice. Okay, so got my composition, pre-focus 1/3 of the way into the frames using the groins on the left hand side. Right, going to set my camera up in the normal way, ISO 100 f11. Going to bring up my histogram, and then I'm simply going to find out how slow I can push the shutter speed. 2-second delay on there. Click. And that already is looking pretty nice. I'm going to capture that again as the tide is receding. just to get some streaks on the go. And then we're going to fine tune my settings, and then we're going to talk about light. That comes all the way up there. 1, 2. Yeah, okay, that's quite nice. Camera on a tripod, sturdy tripod, got my composition, everything is in place. I've got my settings right. Base ISO, in this instance ISO 100, f11 because that's my go-to aperture. F11 will render pretty much everything in focus as long as you focus roughly a third of the way into the image. And I've then done that, focus a third of the way to the image, and then switch my focus on to manual. So my camera now will no longer hunt or chase. And my camera settings at this present moment in time is I'm at 1/8 of a second. 1/8 is really, really good. And all I'm going to do now is just sit here, and as the tide is pretty much coming to its peak, the light is starting to drop off. I'll have probably about 35-40 minutes, maybe an hour for the tide to turn around before it starts going out, in which case the light will drop off an awful lot more than it currently is at the moment. Let's drop that across there. The light will drop off considerably more in that length of time, in or during the next hour. So during blue hour and everything. So all I'm now going to do is react to the lack of light simply by slowing my shutter speed down, and you can carry on doing this until it gets dark, and in which case you'll be shooting at 1 minute and 2 minute exposure. And it really does work. It's really, really simple to set up. So if you fancy doing this, but you've not rushed out and bought any filters, then, you know, just get your timing right, tied in during before sunrise, or like me now, at sunset. And just simply set up and wait it out. That easy. That easy. I could, if I wanted to, close the aperture a bit more. I don't mind shooting at f16, so I'm going to close the aperture a bit more. 3 clicks from f11 to f16, and to compensate I'm now going to have to slow my shutter speed down by another stop. Let's just bring on my histogram just to check. Yep, nothing's clipping. I'm going to try and push my histogram as far to the right as I possibly can, but already I'm at 1.5 seconds. 1.5 seconds. Sunset is in 15 minutes and high tide is in 15 minutes. Timing spot on. Really, really, really cool. You never get fed up with images like this. I like that. This will only improve as the light drops and that shutter speed starts to extend. Keeping you abreast of where I'm at the moment. As the light starts to drop, I'm compensating by slowing my shutter speed down more and more. At the moment, I've got a 2-second exposure. Because I've got a 2-second exposure, I quite like shooting the waves as they're starting to recede. So I have lifted my tripod up and tilted the lens down. I haven't done anything any more than that, because I quite like it. Make sure you get your timing right though. You may have noticed I've added my timer. All I'm doing is waiting for the tide to come up, and as it starts to recede, press my trigger, because the water looks much nicer on the way out. It leaves streaks. Wait for a big wave. That's quite nice there. It's quite interesting. Press it. Quite nice this. I quite like doing this. Let's do it again. As long as you get your timing right, it's just a bit of luck there. Just wait for that rogue wave, the highest wave that comes every 7 or 8 waves or something. I'm just keeping an eye on the light, keeping an eye on the time, and keeping an eye on my histogram. The easiest shot in the world to grab, it really is. That's looking good. There's a big pipe down there, so I might actually when I'm shooting at a 30-second exposure, maybe a minute or 2 minutes, I'm going to go down and just grab that pipe as well. It's a little bit fine arty. It might look good, it might not look good. Apologise in advance, by the way, because my vlogging camera, which is a Canon M50, is pretty rubbish. It's pretty pants at videoing in low light, but I will continue with it. So it'll get to a point where you'll just hear my voice and not see me, or it'll look really grainy. So I apologise in advance, but you can clearly understand what I'm doing, I'm sure. Okay, so I'm looking at my histogram now. 10 minutes have elapsed since the last time I looked at my histogram. My histogram has already moved from the right hand side to the middle, so that's great. So that means now I can go in and reduce my shutter speed down even more to push that histogram up, because ultimately that's the main aim of this exercise, is just really to extend that shutter speed for as long as I possibly can. So if you look here, you can see my histogram has now moved more to the center, and my exposure time there is 2 seconds. So I'm just going to slow my shutter speed down even more. I'm going to leave my aperture at f16, although ultimately I will change that to f11 later on, and I'll leave my ISO at 100. So I'll leave these two here. I'll just adjust my shutter speed looking at my histogram, slowing it down, and in 10 minutes, look at that, I can really push that histogram all the way to there, and already we'll be able to achieve an 8-second exposure. Let's just take that image. Remember, I don't need a timer or an intervalometer at this point. I'm just doing it for ease of use. I can just simply use my 2-second delay timer on my camera. Click. And there you go. Let's have a quick zoom in and a quick look at that. Ship shape and Bristol fashion, I think the saying is, and that's looking nice. Once again, I'm just going to keep an eye on that histogram, and as it moves back into the center again, I'll be able to push my shutter speed even more. I don't know, I just think it's quite cool just to go off sometimes with your camera and your tripod and not have to worry about anything else. And you're still able to take images like this. Minimalistic, long exposure, fine art, call it what you like. It's still really cool to be able to do this using minimal equipment. One thing I will say is, make sure your tripod is a very sturdy tripod. And yeah, you're going to get the cleanest image that you possibly can, because there's going to be no image deterioration at all by placing polarizers on the front of your lenses, by placing neutral density filters and gradient filters, etc. Can't get better than that, can you? You can't get better than that. So let's just check the time since I last reported in. The time at the moment is 6 o'clock. I think that's a lapse of 10 minutes since I last reported in, and as you could see, same settings, 8 seconds, ISO 100 at f16. I haven't changed anything. I'm just watching my histogram move further and further to the left as the light starts to drop. Let's compensate now by slowing my shutter speed down and down and down and down and down. As it stands at the moment, I could push this to 30 seconds. Let's take that shot. There you go. Look at that for a shot. Look at that. That looks fantastic. Minimalistic, fine arty, call it what you want. Without any filters whatsoever, that is brilliant. And 30-second exposure at f16. I am going to reduce that down to f11. I'm going to open my aperture up a little bit more to f11 in about 5 minutes time from now, which will equate roughly to the same. So that means, based on these calculations, in 10 minutes time from now, I could probably slow my shutter speed down by another 2 stops. Well, 2 stops is double, so double 30 takes you to a minute, double a minute takes you to 2 minutes. My calculation there, by roughly in 10 minutes time from now, I could take this exact same shot with a 2-minute exposure without using any filters on there whatsoever. 5 minutes has lapsed, and I can see my histogram is really starting to move now into the center again in the space of 5 minutes, while I'm at a 30th of a second. So that means I know I can at least push this for one more stop. Well, one more stop, 30 seconds, now takes it to a minute exposure. That's brilliant. My camera will only, and the chances are your camera will as well, only shoot at 30 seconds. In that case then, switch my camera to bulb mode, double check my settings, make sure my aperture's at f11 and my ISO is at 100. And now I'm going to get my timer and make sure it's at 1 minute, because my timer in bulb mode now becomes my shutter speed, set to 1 minute, and take that picture. Just 5 minutes has elapsed, and I'm able to shoot from 30 seconds to 1 minute in 5 minutes time from now. If that, it means I'll be able to shoot this at a 2-minute exposure. How cool is that? I get really excited about stuff like this. I don't know why I do this all the time, but it's just so cool to do. And yet it's actually, it doesn't look like it on this camera, but it's, the light has dropped so much, it looks quite dark, but in the camera it's still bright and vibrant, and it looks terrific. That is really cool. And for the last shot, I can see my histogram has gone down there, so now I'm just going to double my, in actual fact, I'm going to open, I think I've got 2 stops clear there, so 1, 2, 3, I'm going to open my aperture. Remember, ultimately I want to get to the sharpest part of this lens, which is f11 there, and I'm also going to extend my shutter speed by another minute. That's another stop. Go. 2 minutes. This should be the shot of the day. Look at that. f11 is the optimum for sharpness with my lens. I'm happy with that. ISO 100 is the cleanest image, and that's a 2-minute exposure. No filters, nothing, just a camera and a very sturdy tripod, and obviously to extend your shutter speed beyond 30 seconds, a timer intervalometer attached as well, although you might well have that incorporated into your camera already. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that content. Now the most important part of this video, well certainly for one of you anyway, it's the iFootage tripod giveaway. Let me very briefly give you a bit of a backstory attached to this tripod though. 8 or 9 months ago I received an email from this company called iFootage, and they offered to send me a tripod. They didn't ask for anything in return, which was quite unique. So I looked over their website and I thought their gear looked really good, so naturally I said yes please. So they sent me out this tripod, which I don't have to tell you, they've not asked me to do this, it's not sponsored in any way, shape or form. Everybody who's entered this competition, the emails will be dumped. I'm not going to pass the emails on for marketing blurb, nothing like that. I suppose that's what I really like about this company. But they sent me this tripod out and I've been using it ever since. It is fantastic. Carbon fibre, everything works as it should do. It's lightweight, super strong, and it's got an inbuilt leveling head as well. Plus it's super sexy because it's red. And I've been using it ever since, like I said. But they then reached out and said, actually Gary, we have a newer model that's slightly taller. We didn't realise that you were 6'4", and this one is about 4 inches shorter than the replacement one that they sent me. Hence the reason I now have a spare one. because the taller one is obviously much easier for me at 6'4", especially because I don't have a flip out screen on the back of my camera. So that's really the backstory attached to it. They've not asked me to do anything. They've not asked me to, to even give away my old tripod. They just wanted to support me, which I thought was absolutely fantastic. So there you go. That's the backstory of why I've got a tripod to give away right now. So let me come on to the competition. All I asked you guys to do was to email me a name. That's it. And I've now got to randomly draw it out. Except, what a blooming headache that is. What a blooming headache that is. And take a look here. Seriously, I expected 60 or 70 people to send me an email. I'm not joking, and I'm not joking. I'll show you the figures here. If I click on that one there and click on Control and A to select them all, 703 entrants. I have 41 of you that's ended up in my spam filter. Bit bizarre that, isn't it? And I've had a few emails sent to my personal email address as well. So the only way, I was actually going to put all the names in a hat and draw them out. So I've been racking my brain all week and I've come up with this one. I have downloaded a random number generator. If I show it you on here, let's see if that focuses in there. This is a random number generator. I'll show you how it works. You shake it and it randomly lands on a number. That's it. Okay, so you get the picture. So this is where the competition starts. I'm now going to shake it. Whatever number comes up on there, I will go into my emails and count them from 1, ignoring the duplicates, all the way down until I get to whatever number appears on my phone on this random number generator. It's an app that you can download, by the way. You ready? I hope it's a low one. 750. Right, hang on. Awkward to hold. I think it's focused. Let's give it a shake. This is it for the competition. Give it a good shake. And $159. 159 is that one there, and it is Armitage. I'm not sure if I can say, is it Derek I've said it, there you go. Derek Armitage. You are number 159 officially. I don't know where you live. I'm not going to check now, otherwise you might give me a headache. But wherever you live in the world, I promise I will send out this tripod. And I forgot to mention, box. And inside the box, there is a brand new bag for it as well. Never opened, never used. And I'll send you all of that in the mail on Monday. All that's left for me to say is congratulations to Derek, well done, and of course thank you very much indeed to everybody who participated, everybody who sent me an email. I'm blown away by the response. More importantly, thanks to this company called iFootage. They didn't have to do what they did, but they did, and I'm eternally grateful to them. I'm going to recommend that you go on their website if you're in the market and looking for a camera accessory. They don't just do tripods, they do all sorts of things. And certainly go to their website and have a look. And please don't think for 1 minute that I'm the sort of person who would recommend that you spend your hard-earned cash on rubbish, right? Just so that I can get a free tripod. That is not the case at all. This tripod is brilliant. This is the TC6. And I'm only giving it away, as you know, because they sent me the slightly taller model, which is the TC7, and that's the model that you'll see me using week in, week out, because it's brilliant. So if you want to check their gear out, I'll leave a description down below. I'll leave a link to their website down below in the description of this video. Thanks. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed it. If you have, do me a favor, help support the channel, give me a thumbs up, and if you think the content is worthy of it, subscribe as well. Cheers.